Zone Media.
Whoa! Welcome back. It's Bastards Pod Behind Cast. Hi, I'm Robert. This is a podcast about bad people. It's part 2 of our episodes about Laetrile, the medicine that invented the weird right-wing fake medicine industrial complex that is now helping to run our government. So, you know, we're all learning that story today. And with me to continue to be unhappy, Miles Gray.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for coming back, Miles. I know we ended on a cliffhanger last time because obviously, you know, they've been banned now.
Laetrile has been defeated.
Yeah, Laetrile has been defeated forever. Well, no. What was defeated was the Krebses being able to produce or sell Laetrile, right?
Oh, right.
Unfortunately, somehow Laetrile has returned in part 2.
Oh, God.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
There's a difference between liking a house and actually getting it. Redfin is built to make up that difference and close the gap between finding and owning the home for you. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. So when you find a home you love, you're not a step behind when it comes to making an offer. That means less watching great homes disappear and more focus on the one you'll call home. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
There's a fire inside you can't ignore. Stand still? Not a chance. You're a lifelong learner who's come this far. Now, we're here to help you keep going further. Capella University. What can't you do? Visit capella.edu to learn more.
You're a pro at running your life, at committing to your workout, at showing up every day. At Bombas, we're pros too. Pros at making socks. Our sport assortment has specialized socks for whatever sport you're committed to. Running, hiking, golf, Pilates, and so much more. Made with sweat-wicking yarns, blister-fighting details, and targeted arch support. Bombas Sport is pro-level socks from the pros of socks. For another pro, you. Go to bombas.com/audio and use code audio for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com and use code audio.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
So, as I ended the last episode saying, well, yeah, no, the FDA charged Krebs and the John Beard Memorial Foundation, banned them from selling Laetrile or making it. But Krebs reached out to his physician friends, and they started a letter writing campaign. They got a bunch of their patients writing in to be like, I need this medicine. I need it. Oh, my God, you can't know how much it's helped me. And the judge, you know, letter writing campaigns, this is still kind of new as a concept that you would do this, especially to a judge. And this judge suddenly receives hundreds of letters like he's never gotten before. And is like, oh God, I guess I better give them some way to keep getting this stuff, right? So he tells the Krebses, look, you can sell off the remaining stockpile that you have, but you got to sell it to this unrelated guy, McNaughton, who definitely isn't your friend and in business with you, right? This Canadian gun runner. You got to sell your stuff to him. He'll take care of it. He'll make sure it gets to the right people. So that 1961 settlement marks kind of the end of the first era, or it's the beginning of the end for the first era of the Krebs family's anti-cancer medications, right? And, in the early days, the goal had been, we're going to make a scientific case for the new medicine. We'll get acceptance from professional doctors, right? And by kind of the 60s, it's starting to become clear throughout the decade, this isn't going to be the way forward in the future. So people start, over in California, the Cancer Advisory Council has begun to develop a serious interest in Laetrile, which they had first learned about after being sent questions from journalists around the country about the alleged miracle cancer cure that California doctors were using. One of Krebs's physician customers had talked to a reporter and given them a list of his patients, saying, hey, just ask these people how well the treatment worked, because boy howdy, HIPAA laws did not exist back then.
Mm-mm. Oh, you need names and numbers?
He's just like, no, here's all my patients and what they've been given.
Oh, yeah. Go right through them. Yep.
Here's their home addresses. I don't give a shit.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Betty Boop was one of my best patients, actually. Yeah, you should definitely call her.
So, brief investigation by the California Cancer Advisory Council made it clear to them that Ernest Krebs Jr. was actively working to sell more and more physicians in more states on this investigational drug. But even though this was an investigational drug, no one seemed to be publishing any research about it, right? Where are the investigations? It's just being used on people and nobody's documenting shit. They also become aware that he's selling Laetrile overseas, even after the injunction against selling it, but the FDA can't stop him from doing stuff overseas, right? Like the fact that there's like a British subsidiary selling stuff, they can't really get involved with that.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Yeah, good luck.
Now, during this period of time, Dr. Krebs Jr., fake Dr. Krebs Jr., is writing letters to pharmaceutical entrepreneurs like this, quote, "The field of cancer chemotherapy is a law to itself. This jungle offers the greatest opportunity anywhere in commerce at this moment. But there are snakes in every bush. I believe it's best to push hard, sell. Don't be backward about disaffecting a few, and establish Laetrile right from the start as something precious that not even hospitals get for nothing." So in his private writing, he's like, look, we got to make this stuff expensive. You got to charge out the ass for it, right? Like, this is precious stuff. We won't even sell it to the dying for free, Like, that is the private Dr. Krebs Jr.
Right. Exactly. He's like, oh my God, we got a winner.
Yeah. It's also the fact that he says cancer chemotherapy is a law unto himself. He is calling Laetrile a kind of chemotherapy, right? Because chemo is new and exciting at this point in like the late 50s, early 60s. The idea that like, well, finally, there's something that works, right? So he is trying to tell people this is the same thing, right? It's just, a better kind of chemo that's less harsh on your body, Like, but that's basically how they're arguing this works.
It's fucking way better chemo, basically, is what I call it.
It's super chemo, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So from 1960 to 62, the Cancer Advisory Council sent 10 doctors and 5 research scientists to the task of investigating Laetrile. This included evaluating more than 100 case studies by different Laetrile advocates. Despite this mountain of so-called proof, the council found no compelling evidence that Laetrile had helped anyone fight cancer. In fact, although Krebs Jr. constantly claimed to have documented dozens of cured patients, he would repeatedly fail to furnish this information when asked. So the California Medical Association had to go digging. And I want to quote from an article on the website Patient Worthy here. The association pressed Krebs Jr. for his clinical data and proof of controlled studies. Krebs Jr. claimed he had performed the studies, but destroyed any related files. While conducting background checks on his former patients, the CMA found that 19 of the 44 patients Krebs Jr. had referred them to had died within 2 years of receiving their treatment. Some even seemed to be exhibiting symptoms of cyanide poisoning. The agency quickly condemned Laetrile, as did the California State Department of Public Health. So when they're finally able to get some data where he's like, yeah, here's 44 people who came to my clinic. They're like, fucking half these people are dead, and it looks like a lot of them died from cyanide poisoning. What are you doing?
I don't know. Maybe they were into that shit. I don't know. Maybe you ask them what they were doing with that shit.
Have you considered maybe it was recreational cyanide poisoning,
Yeah, people are fucking weird with that shit.
People love cyanide. Oh my God. You walk into a preschool and give the kids a big vial of cyanide. They'll have a good time with it. They love it.
That. All the rock stars, they're doing it. Everyone's into it.
Everyone's doing cyanide.
The nide? Yeah.
Yeah, the nide. So after further work, including running tests on Laetrile and a new synthetic Laetrile that Krebs Jr. had invented, the council determined the substance had no value for treating, minimizing the symptoms of, or outright curing cancer. This prompted the state to regulate Laetrile for the first time. In 1965, a new regulation was issued in California that banned Laetrile and all substantially similar agents from being sold as a cancer treatment. So, Krebs Sr. and his boy took this in stride. They kept moving Laetrile on the side, of course, but they had to pretend to stay on the straight and narrow now that the man was watching them. Even so, they repeatedly wound up in court. Krebs Jr. was actually convicted in 1965 over a contempt charge because he refused to stop selling Laetrile. In 1966, he was convicted again for contempt, again because he was caught shipping Laetrile in violation of the injunction. His story at this point becomes one we've seen all too often. A rich con man breaks the law repeatedly, but only gets a slap on the wrist each time. He was sentenced to a year in prison, and then the sentence was immediately suspended, so he kept doing it, and he brought in his brother Byron, the osteopath, to help sell and market the stuff. In 1974, Byron and Krebs Jr. are both charged and both pled guilty to violating the Californian law yet again. They were given 6-month suspended sentences. The only one who actually suffered a real penalty was Byron, who had an actual osteopath's license and had it revoked for incompetence.
And was the only one who saw consequences was Byron, because they thought he was black when they saw that name.
They thought he was a doctor, at least.
He was white. It's crazy just not dealing with these people's fucking crimes because of their privilege.
It's always the case. It's just like
the
guy running the country right now. It's just, just let him get away with it forever.
That's like the little
rich.
fucking snowball, and now we have shit mountain that we're snowboarding down.
They're just selling cyanide as a cancer cure. It's not like they're selling, I don't know, cocaine, or heroin or marijuana, God forbid.
Wait, hold on. I'm not selling cyanide. Their bodies are turning that. That's what their bodies are choosing to do with it. Okay. Yeah. Some of the people, it doesn't. It cures them.
It's not like they shoplifted, right? They're just poisoning people with cyanide.
What do you want me to say, man? It's not even called cyanide.
Good stuff. It's not even cyanide quite yet until you eat it.
That's so unfair that you would say that. Oh my God.
So 74, Byron loses his osteopath's license. And a Quackwatch article I found just noted that after this, quote, Byron died shortly thereafter. And I was like, what happened? Right? I wanted to look into it. So I found a slightly more detailed reference to Byron in a family obituary when Krebs Jr. died in 1966. This is Krebs Jr.'s fucking obituary.
He died in 66?
1996.
Oh, 96.
Yeah. Byron Krebs died in 1974. And the line in the obituary just reads, Byron Krebs died in a laboratory explosion. There's more story there than we have, and I want it.
Did he? What the fuck?
Wow.
My assumption is that he was trying to find another hat cancer remedy that, would get around the California law, and it just blew up in his face very literally because none of the Krebs family are good scientists.
You think he was using nitroglycerin or something?
Maybe dynamite cures.
Yeah.
If mustard gas cures cancer, dynamite must.
I mean, radiation, the atomic bomb.
I'm trying all the bombs.
Yeah. These are just bomb-ass cures that I'm working on for.
You ever try vaping Hexogen? It fixes you right the fuck up.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
What the fuck? Died in a laboratory. Wait. Can you just give me the sentence?
Explosion, not fire. Explosion.
Can you just give me the sentence before that, just so I the flow of this sentence?
Oh, God. I guess I can pull up my sources. One sec.
Just because I think that's just the funniest line in an obituary. It's his brother died in a fucking lab explosion. Anyway.
Yeah, one sec. I'm pulling up my source for the obituary that
this is
family...
how you guys know this shit is thorough.
Yeah.
Just off the cuff, I'm having to inconvenience Robert.
He's got 2 obituaries. One is the news obituary that talks about, the real stuff that he did.
Right.
And this is the family one. So yeah, okay. Ernst Sr. died in 1970 at age 93. Mr. Krebs was convicted in 73 of practicing medicine without a license, as well as falsely representing Laetrile as a cancer cure and dispensing it. He and his brother, a physician who was found guilty of prescribing the substance, were fined. Byron Krebs died in a laboratory explosion in 1974.
I love the way that shit reads, dude.
Yeah, it's very funny.
It's a bop.
So, with Byron Krebs gone and Krebs Sr. in his 90s, McNaughton took an increasingly active role in selling Laetrile. After failing to get respected cancer charities to support Laetrile's studies, he managed to help convince the American Weekly, a prominent magazine, to publish 2 puff articles about Laetrile. Next, per Quackwatch, they were followed shortly by a paperback book from which they had been taken, Laetrile, Control for Cancer, The most important medical news of our time, the cover promised. The first major breakthrough in the cancer mystery. The day is near when no one will need to die from cancer. Laetrile, the revolutionary new anti-cancer drug, will be to cancer what insulin is to diabetes. Written by Clyn D. Kittler, who earlier had acclaimed Krebs Jr. as Nobel Prize material, the book presented a highly dramatic version of Laetrile's discovery and a most optimistic rendering of Krebs-sponsored clinical experience with the drug. To use the term cures for cancer, Kittler considered inaccurate, but he added, the idea of a cancer control, on the other hand, is perfectly plausible. In the minds of an increasing number of leading scientists, the best control now available is Laetrile. The book concluded by quoting Andrew McNaughton to the same effect. McNaughton contributed also to the book's foreword, to which he appended his foundation's Montreal address. Letters of inquiry sent to the foundation received replies saying Laetrile might soon be available. So again, he's like, all right, they got in trouble for calling this a cure. It's not a cure. It's a control.
Yeah.
It's like a brake pedal for cancer, you know?
What the fuck?
We put a governor on this bad boy.
Exactly,
yeah.
Man. Just fucking unless you're at a racetrack, it knows with the GPS. Then the chip turns off. Yeah.
God, that's so funny. Now, this would not be the first time a fake miracle cure had been pushed by a book, but previously it was mostly stuff like Dianetics, right, or the power of positive thinking, where you're making claims, sometimes even medical ones, about like we can cure this psychiatric illness or whatever. But it's usually like the thing you're saying is like, and it's a way of meditating or a way of thinking or a rule of the universe you don't know. This is one of the first times, if not the first time, that there's like a major book published to get people to take a fake drug as a cancer cure in like the modern era, right?
Yeah.
The book itself did not sell as well as the publisher had hoped, but it sells pretty well. It's just that they buy like 5 times as many copies as it possibly could have sold. So it like fucks up the publisher, but a lot of people do get copies of this book. It is influential, right? And it sells well enough to bring thousands of new customers to the fantasy world being crafted by the Krebses and McNaughton. As Laetrile spread around the world, it was banned, first in California, then Canada, and several other U.S. states. McNaughton lost a major lawsuit in the mid-'60s, and Ernst Krebs Sr. was permanently enjoined against ever selling another dose of Laetrile, which he continued prescribing for the remainder of his life, which ended in 1970 when he fell down the stairs, either 93 or 94. I've seen both. I'm not going to
After a lab explosion.
He's too old, right? Yeah, the lab explosion threw him down the stairs. Oh, fuck. Now, Ernst Krebs Jr., the fake doctor, was the only Krebs left alive or in the business now, which was largely being operated by Andrew McNaughton, as he had both the corporate structure and money for the legal muscle necessary to keep fighting the fight. Whenever one of his corporate entities would attract too much heat, McNaughton would create a new one and continue manufacturing and shipping Laetrile from eventually Sausalito. In 1970, he again begged the FDA to approve Laetrile for experimental use on humans. To do this, he had to craft an investigational new drug application, or IND, which is if you think you've got a medicine that you need to test, you make that, and you send it to the government, and they're like, yeah, this seems like it's probably worth testing on people and safe to test on people, or something else. Let's try it, right? Now, this is not a good application, and it's never going to get accepted. But the application, which makes Laetrile sound wonderful, starts getting shared around. It like, today it'd be on fucking Twitter, but like it's just being passed, copies of it are being passed around to this growing network of Laetrile activists that have started forming in the 60s. And they've started seeing themselves as activists because they're convinced this is going to save them or that it did save them. And there's a lot of these people are folks who had a cancer and they took Laetrile and a traditional therapy and they got better, but they keep taking Laetrile because they're convinced it'll keep them from getting the cancer again. And it's again, there's this like trauma of the cancer was so scary. Maybe if I just never stop taking this stuff, I won't get it again. Right? Because that's one of the things like the Krebs is claiming is that actually, yeah, you can just take it for maintenance and it'll keep your body inhospitable to cancer. Fuck it. Why not? Right?
Jesus.
So the central mover of this kind of shift from you've got some patients and whatnot who are like angry and they got convinced to do a letter writing campaign to there is like a network of activists who are working together in organizations in order to fight for their right to this fake medicine. The person who causes that shift most directly is a teacher from Southern California named Cecile Hoffman. She had been diagnosed with breast cancer in 1959 and endured a horrible mastectomy to deal with it, right? This is 59 medicine.
Yeah.
Her mastectomy, number one, is just a nightmarish procedure. It's extremely painful. She doesn't heal well. And number two, they don't do a good job at it. So her cancer doesn't go away entirely. And a couple years later, she finds out that it's spread. And again, this is the stage of it where you do have to have a lot of sympathy for these people. She's being told, well, we need to do chemo, right? We need to do another medical intervention. She's had one, and it was horrible. And then Laetrile activists, to be more accurate, she starts doing her own research, and she finds the book I just talked about, and she reads McNaughton's foreword, and she's like, well, fuck this. I'm going to take Laetrile, right? Like, that's clearly the best option. And you have to have, again, some sympathy for this woman, but her impact is going to be disastrous. So at first, she lives in like LA. She's in like, or she lives in San Diego, I think. She starts traveling to Montreal because she can't get it in California, and she takes it in Montreal for a while. But then Laetrile gets restricted in Montreal, and so she becomes the very first person to take to Mexico to get her Laetrile fix. Right? She is patient zero from Mexican Laetrile. Right. And she finds a doctor down in Tijuana named Ernesto Contreras, who is happy to prescribe this stuff, despite not knowing the first thing about it. And Contreras is important because he is one of our very first, he's very good at marketing himself. He's at this point just a small family doctor, but he's going to immediately latch on to this grift. And he's one of the first vibes-only MDs. He calls himself like a holistic doctor and shit, but he's basically like, what's most important a lot of the time, it's not even the medicine. I don't always know why the medicine works. It's about how good you make them feel. It's about chilling them out. It's about keeping people positive, right? That'll do a lot, right? That does most of what we need to do. So they just come in and I just tell them whatever they want to hear. They say they think they need Laetrile. I'll tell them, yeah, it'll definitely cure you. Here, have it, And he's like really a nice guy. Not in a nice guy in the sense that like people like him, not that he's a good person. Those things get conflated. Right. He's a bad person, but he's extremely charming. People really feel comfortable. Jesus. He's got great bedside manner, right? And he'll just say yes to whatever insane thing people want prescribed, as long as they're paying. In 1963, Cecile founds the International Association of Cancer Victims and Friends. And once she met Dr. Contreras, she starts telling all of her friends and fellow sufferers in this international association about him. And she's like, look, if you're sick, this is the only good doctor. This is the guy who knows how to cure cancer. You could trust him. He'll get you your meds. He doesn't care about these little things like, has Laetrile helped anybody? Is it just cyanide, right? Is
it medically sound?
Come to his Tijuana clinic and he will cure you, right? Yes. So she starts this trend both of organizing these patients together and of being like, let's all head to Tijuana for good medicine. In other words, Cecile Hoffman is an figure in the annals of patient alternative medicine advocates, right? She is the precursor to what's her name, Jenny McCarthy, right? Like that's very much what we're talking about with Cecile.
So she's going to host a dating show called Singled Out?
Bad news about that. But before we get to that, let me read a quote about her from Dr. Ben Wilson. Persuaded that Laetrile had saved her life, angry that this treatment was not legally available in the United States, Mrs. Hoffman established her international association. Through print, meetings, and personal evangelism, the association castigated out-of-date, outmoded, so-called orthodox treatment, and vigorously espoused what Mrs. Hoffman termed non-toxic, beneficial therapies, especially Laetrile. Krebs Jr., Contreras, and in time Dean Burke addressed the International Association assemblies. The organization provided cancer sufferers with information on how to get to Tijuana. So they're not yet smuggling people, but they're telling them, here's how to get here, here's what to do, and they're spreading this around by like word of mouth. So by the end of the 60s, Krebs Jr., McNaughton, Dr. Contreras, and Cecile have set up Laetrile for a booming 1970s, right? All the ingredients are there, right? Like we figured out how to like market and sell this stuff. We're starting to organize patients to like provide, pressure to judges and eventually to legislators. And we've got this like word of mouth network set up with like an advocate organization. And we've got a clinic in Mexico that we're sending them to, right? Everything you need for this to really explode in the 70s. Tragically, Cecile will not live to see that decade. Despite more than 6 years of Laetrile treatment, she died in 1969 of metastatic cancer because instead of treating her cancer, she did nothing, and that's what happens with that, right?
But she took Laetrile.
Yeah, and it killed her. She dies a horrible death. No one in her organization seems to have questioned what this might mean about the validity of Laetrile as a medicine. Yeah. You know what else no one questions? I've never questioned it. You certainly shouldn't.
What?
The products and services that support this podcast.
Oh, I love them.
Don't question them. Don't ask shit.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
This is Bethany Frankel from Just Be with Bethany Frankel. Let me be blunt. Most dog food is junk. It just is. And I'm not feeding junk to Biggie and Smalls. That is why they eat Just Food for Dogs. It's real, 100% human-grade food with ingredients I actually recognize, not mystery pellets pretending to be healthy. And once I switched, the difference was obvious. Better digestion, better skin, more energy, dogs who actually feel good instead of just surviving dinner. Here's the thing. You care about quality. You make an intentional choice to be healthy. So why are you gambling with your dog's health? So let's think about our furry babies. Go to justfoodfordogs.com right now and get 50% off your first box. No code, just try it. Because once you see the difference, you're not going back.
Sink into affordable luxury. Anabay is the only machine-washable sofa, inside and out. With stain-resistant slip covers and a cloud-like frame duvet, everything goes right in the wash. Plus, the modular design lets you change the look of your space anytime. Visit washablesofas.com to upgrade your home. Shop up to 60% off site-wide, with sofas starting at just $699 and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Shop now at washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change, and certain restrictions may apply.
Let's talk about modern home shopping. It's sort of become a fun side hobby, right? Scrolling listings at night, dreaming about kitchens you've never seen, or backyards you haven't even stepped foot in, all from the comfort of pretty much anywhere. Redfin knows a lot of people like you want to own, but are stuck in this browsing mode loop. That's where Redfin flips the script. With listings that update within minutes and tours you can book right from the Redfin app, you can see your dream home the moment it appears. Now, liking a listing is easy, but actually landing it, that's where Redfin comes in. Redfin has over 2,200 agents with local expertise. And Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. That means they want to help you win, not just window shop. Redfin is built to help you go from just looking to wait, this could actually be home. So become the newest neighbor on the block. Visit redfin.com to start finding and start owning. That's redfin.com.
Oh my gosh, we're back and we're talking Laetrile. So Hoffman, who is dead now, but as the 70s starts, her chief innovation will outlive her. And the primary thing that she does that's relevant to us today is that she's, as far as I can tell, the first person who brings the catchphrase freedom of choice to the debate about what kind of stuff you should be able to sell as medicine. Oh, wow. Right? She is the one who was like, it's a freedom of choice thing, as to what medicine is. Who's to say what's not medicine? I have a right as an American, a First Amendment right to say what medicine is. My medicine is.
Right, absolutely.
Now, her organization works really well alongside a slightly older group. Her group, this foundation, is not the first group that starts pushing this. And, well, they hadn't used that exact language. They had been doing a version of it's a freedom thing, right? And this older organization is the National Health Foundation, which had been established, I think, in 1955 by a different con man who was marketing fake health devices that kept getting banned. And the foundation, again, these guys are early advocates for what? They're saying we can't sell just any old crap? Well, fuck that, And they reach out aggressively to every new little organization that bumps up in the 70s focused on unorthodox medical and health treatments. Like, if you think meditation has taught you Venusian health magic, or if you think Laetrile is a wonder drug, they will fight for your right. You know,
right.
Like your sacred right to die unnecessarily taking nonsense.
Who's to fucking tell you what science is? Scientists?
It's so frustrating because all of these arguments, if you replace fake medicine with real illegal drugs, I'm like, yeah, legalize it. It's everyone's choice. If you want to fucking get addicted to heroin, that's your choice, I believe. But you know what heroin is. You should be informed of it, right? You should be told that, yeah, this kills people all the fucking time. It's super dangerous.
What does it do?
It gets horribly addictive.
The first one's going to be a fucking wild one.
You're going to feel great, and then it's going to destroy your life, right?
Then you're going to chase the dragon, as it were.
I am okay with, like, cocaine marketed as like, this is horrible for you and will make you a worse person, right? Like, just be honest about all of this stuff.
Yeah, super
but
upfront.
Let people buy
and you will fart a lot.
Pot, you're not nearly as interesting as you think you are.
But go ahead, asshole. You know what I mean?
Fuck it. This is not keying you on the secrets of the universe, actually. And it may not even be really relaxing you as much as you think it is.
Yeah, your ideas aren't getting better when you're writing a song.
It's fun. And, well, with the exception of exactly 1.5 beers, you know? Maybe a little bit of acid.
There you go.
Some mushrooms.
These are good ads.
Some Adderall that you grind up and shoot. Okay, whatever. So in 1970, Ernst Krebs Jr. would usher in his last major innovation for Laetrile, and this is the second Laetrile era. So the first era is, everybody loves chemicals, right? Laetrile's basically chemo. It's another weird chemical that we found that'll save you, right? By 1970, people are kind of over weird chemicals. They're starting to be like, what if I want to be natural and healthy and, you know, diet and exercise and all this stuff, right? And so he reads the tea leaves and he's like, okay, people don't want a random chemical to shoot into themselves or to take as pills. This is like the health era, right? So, let me think. People have started to learn that chemo's pretty unpleasant to experience, even though it works. What if I'm like, chemo, the reason it's unpleasant is it's unnatural, right? And what I've got is a natural drug for a new and health-conscious era. See, Laetrile, it doesn't work like chemotherapy. It's not a chemical, it's a vitamin. And cancer is obviously caused by a vitamin deficiency.
Exactly.
And I found the new vitamin that no one knew about before that you're all deficient in, and that's what Laetrile is. I want to quote now from an article in the Cancer Journal for Clinicians. In 1970, Ernst Krebs Jr. announced that he had discovered the etiology of all forms of cancer. Cancer, he concluded, was a vitamin deficiency disease, every bit as much as it is pernicious anemia. According to Krebs Jr., the missing vitamin in cancer was Laetrile, which he called vitamin B17.
Oh my God.
It's B17! You know, B12 is 5 numbers better than B12.
Dude, wait till I drop B52, bro.
Yeah.
That's just going to fucking crack your mind.
It's fucking nuts. So this is not a new scheme for his family, like faking that you've got a fucking new vitamin. If you remember in the last episode, he and his dad got in trouble for selling pangamic acid, which also came from the kernels of shelled apricot seeds. They had a real apricot thing. And in 1945, Krebs Sr. had claimed this is a systemic detoxicant, which can cure all allergies. So first off, he's like a pioneer in saying that, like, there's toxins. We got to detox you.
Gets them out. Gets them right out.
Yeah. And he's like, also, it cures arthritis for some reason. He marketed it as allergenase and described it as vitamin B15, even though, again, it's not a vitamin. So his son is like, yeah, Laetrile, it's really vitamin B17. And you can't ban the sale of vitamins, right?
No, you can't.
Now, the surprising number of kooks and cranks who liked this stuff had been isolated before, but in the 70s, they also increasingly come together. And, Cecile Hoffman was a big part of that. And they start bombarding lawmakers with letters and professional-grade lobbying campaigns. The Federation's Journal compared its members to Abraham Lincoln, reminding them that he, too, fought for liberty against great odds.
Wow.
You know, slavery, that's the same as me not being able to poison you with this shit.
Exactly, dude. I don't want you to tell me I can't cyanide myself.
Yeah, right. If you don't have the right to take cyanide, what right do you have?
None.
That's my opinion.
What did our forefathers fight for?
Yeah, definitely cyanide. Now, at this stage, the unorthodox medical movement, or the bullshit medical movement, was not right or left-wing, right? A good number of people who are drawn into this are drawn in, again, for an understandable reason. It's no longer, we just don't know much about medicine, and there's no real way to treat what I have, so I'm desperate. But a lot of people are now like, well, the government says this stuff is bad, and the government says listen to this guy about what's good, but the government also said that, like, they didn't murder Fred Hampton, or that they weren't tracking Martin Luther King Jr., and we know that's a lie. And the government said that, like, the Vietnam War was absolutely necessary. We know that's a lie.
Yeah. What else?
Right? Like, there's this understandable.
They said we beat the Nazis too.
Yeah. So there's this degree of, like, people are really starting to realize, the American government can't be trusted, which is true, but they're unfortunately extrapolating fucking I can't trust LBJ about Vietnam to, like, why would I trust a doctor about what cures cancer, Except for this doctor, who's not a doctor.
Yep. That's how it all starts. You just need one thing to kind of be true, and then just like, now I'll apply it to everything.
And unfortunately, there's not like one of the things I hate about this story is there's not a simple lesson here. I would love it if the simple lesson was when somebody does something like this, you got to come after them like the hammer of God and really just nuke the person for trying to, like, feed people fake medicine. Mm-hmm. But one important part of the story here is that the aggression with which the government goes after these guys, and not personally, because they're never really personally going after these guys, but the aggression with which they go after people smuggling Laetrile and possessing Laetrile is part of what fuels this backlash, and it all gets swept up in, like, well, the anti-war movement, all this other anti-government stuff that's going on right now, like, and so it's getting in, and increasingly it's got inroads to, like, both kind of sides of the political spectrum who don't trust the government and who, like, see this crackdown and are like, well, they must be hiding something, right? California really, really doubles down on arresting and intercepting people who are bringing in Laetrile shipments. One woman named Mary Welchel had helped establish what she called the Underground Railroad of Laetrile, smuggling cancer patients from the U.S. to Dr. Contreras' clinic, which had gone from, he used to run it out of his home, and now it's a whole compound with, like, bungalows for long-term patient care. So Welchel starts smuggling people there and gets caught and convicted in 1971 of delivering an illegal compound for treating cancer and fined. And basically, you won't have to go to jail if you don't take anyone to Mexico for 2 years, although her conviction is set aside. So it's this mix of they're publicly going after these people who seem sympathetic, but then they're not actually punishing them. I think it's that poisonous hybrid where it's like they both look like the evil 1984 government, but also there's no real incentive to stop for the people making money because you're not going to really get in trouble.
The Underground Railroad is an amazing. I love that. I love that.
I'm like the Harriet Tubman of convincing children to take cyanide.
I'm the Harriet bathtub gin of poisoning yourself.
I wish if scientists ever invent the only ethical use for a time machine would be to go back in time to people like Harriet Tubman and tell them all the fucked up ways their name is used in the future, and just like, all right, Martin Luther King, here's a list of, like, quotes people have printed out pretending to agree with you.
Yeah, exactly.
And here's a hammer. Do you just want to, like, take care of business?
You want to come with me in a time machine, man?
yeah. We can fuck some people up. Like, you're owed. Oh, man. Through the early 70s, McNaughton continued to act as the godfather of Laetrile, but then a Canadian judge convicted him of fraud, not for the medical stuff, but for manipulating stock prices. So he has to flee Canada. And he's like, well, the U.S. is obviously no safer for me. So he starts living in Tijuana and reorganizes his business around both advertising Mexican Laetrile clinics, and he's cut in on that business, and overseeing the smuggling of Laetrile into the U.S. from Mexico. He's like a reverse drug coyote. So the second period of Laetrile history is generally considered to have ended sometime in the early 1970s, right? As the need to justify Laetrile scientifically faded away entirely. You know, they start with, like, it's like chemo, and then they're like, it's a vitamin. And they keep saying it's a vitamin, like, up until kind of the end of Laetrile as a medicine. But that becomes less and less meaningful, the justification for how it works.
Right.
Because the state starts arresting doctors in the early 70s. They're arresting people, they're charging them, and this massively increases the sense of victimhood that creates this self-reinforcing subculture that is now not into Laetrile because it's a cure entirely, but because they're ethically and ideologically invested in it, right? The political ideology they've built, this has to work. So you don't have to convince any state or medical organization to back the drug now. People are no longer waiting for evidence. They are ideologically convinced that this stuff is necessary and that the government is evil, right? And so they will go to war on behalf of the people selling this poison. Now, that's the third era of Laetrile, and a major catalyst for the birth of this era is Dr. John A. Richardson, a right-wing crank and medical doctor who was arrested in 1972 in Albany, California, for violating the state anti-quackery law. For reasons beyond me, authorities film the arrest, and it looks bad because it just looks like armed thugs taking a doctor into custody at gunpoint, which is like what it is, but he's a bad doctor. It's like bad PR. Yeah. It's like, no, that's just going to make him look like a victim, you dipshits.
Yeah. Why'd you point the gun at his head?
Richardson, because they're cops, Richardson was convicted of gross negligence and incompetence, and he was in fact guilty. But he looks like Jesus to the kind of patient advocates who just gotten the hang of organizing. Now, here's where things really get dark, because I said he was a right-wing crank. I wasn't just insulting him. This is critical to the story, because Dr. Richardson is a member of a political organization that we have covered on this show, the John Birch Society.
Oh.
And the John Birch Society gets on board at this point. Fuck me.
Wow. That's wild.
They are crucial to the third stage of Laetrile. Now, I want to quote now from an article called Laetrile, Lesson in Cancer Quackery for the Cancer Journal for Clinicians. Quote, the phenomenon was largely confined to the West Coast and Mexico until the 1972 full-scale entry into the controversy of John Birch members in support of Birch activist Dr. John Richardson, using the arguments and sophisticated political machinery of the far right, and aided by the manpower of a large group of Americans caught up in a new religion of extreme food faddism. The promotion rapidly swept across the country. And yeah, it's bleak. I'm gonna like this sounds very similar to what's going on now because this is where it starts, right?
Yeah, exactly.
While Dr. Richardson gets the ball rolling on bringing in the far right, the actual hard work of tying this to conservatism, to this like fascist right-wing cause, was done by a more influential Bircher, a man named Robert W. Bradford from Los Altos, California. He and a handful of far-right activists founded a new organization to push Laetrile and defend Dr. Richardson. Per Dr. Williams' article, Bradford was a nuclear technician on the Stanford University staff, working on building a linear accelerator for research in subatomic physics. Poised, articulate, skilled at organization, Bradford, aided by equally dedicated associates, quickly made a success of the new Committee for Freedom of Choice in Cancer Therapy. In 1975, he gave up his Stanford job to devote full-time to the committee and to Laetrile. Ties with the nation's already existing conservative network surely helped immensely in the speed with which the committee established local branches. By 1977, Bradford claimed 500 chapters with some 35,000 members. And of course it's an engineer. Mm-hmm. Great engineers are some of the easiest, like they're overrepresented as like terrorists, members of extremist groups, because you get very good at something very hard, and you also convince yourself that everything works the way that does, right? And
And then that makes you even more susceptible to like some kind of cult type thing where you're like, well, I know fucking better than everybody else.
And he's also just genuinely a skilled organizer, right? Going in the space of a few years to 500 chapters with 35,000 members, that's no mean feat. That's someone who is very intelligent at what they're doing, right? Mm-hmm. Alas. And there you have it, folks. That is where this all began, baby. We are now staring at the very start of the road that led us to RFK Jr. killing the concept of medical research in the United States, right? Obviously, there were some precursors we can talk about early, and we have on the show the early anti-vax movement. But in terms of this is where there's a direct line between this political movement and the one and Trumpism, right? A very direct line of dissent that, you know, is more broken up the further back you go. And here is where it's just a straight, thick line, right? Mm-hmm. This is the start of it. You know, this is the inciting incident that led in 2020 to people marching around with guns, threatening doctors and nurses for begging them to take safety precautions during a plague, right? Yeah. We're at ground zero here.
Yeah.
And you know what I love about ground zero?
The view?
The view. Oh my God. The great, perfect view of ground zero, you know? But anyway, here's ads.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. 100. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
This is Bethany Frankel from Just Be with Bethany Frankel. Most dog food is marketing, not nutrition. That is why Biggie and Smalls eat just food for dogs, real 100% human-grade food with ingredients I actually recognize. And yes, I do see the difference. Better digestion, healthier skin, more energy, dogs that feel better, my babies. If you've been on the fence about switching, stop overthinking it. What's more important than your furry babies and their health? Go to justfoodfordogs.com right now and get 50% off your first box. No code needed. Just try it.
Tired of spills and stains on your sofa? Wash away your worries with Anabay. Anabay is the only machine washable sofa inside and out, where designer quality meets budget-friendly prices. That's right, sofas start at just $699. Enjoy a no-risk experience with pet-friendly, stain-resistant, and changeable slip covers made with performance fabric. Experience cloud-like comfort with high-resilience foam that's hypoallergenic and never needs fluffing. The sturdy steel frame ensures longevity, and the modular pieces can be rearranged anytime. Shop washablesofas.com for up to 60% off site-wide, backed by a 30-day satisfaction guarantee. If you're not absolutely in love, send it back for a full refund. No return shipping or restocking fees. Every penny back. Upgrade now at washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change, and certain restrictions may apply.
Let's talk about modern home shopping. It's sort of become a fun side hobby, right? Scrolling listings at night, dreaming about kitchens you've never seen, or backyards you haven't even stepped foot in, all from the comfort of pretty much anywhere. Redfin knows a lot of people like you want to own, but are stuck in this browsing mode loop. That's where Redfin flips the script. With listings that update within minutes and tours you can book right from the Redfin app, you can see your dream home the moment it appears. Now, liking a listing is easy, but actually landing it, that's where Redfin comes in. Redfin has over 2,200 agents with local expertise. And Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. That means they want to help you win, not just window shop. Redfin is built to help you go from just looking to wait, this could actually be home. So become the newest neighbor on the block. Visit redfin.com to start finding and start owning. That's redfin.com.
And we're somewhere. Who knows where we are?
We back?
We're back, that's for sure. Okay. Not that we ever left.
Thanks for confirming.
We didn't. I just told you another story that would have blown the audience's minds.
Yeah, we can't do that.
You're not going to hear it. You're never going to hear it, you know?
I'll give you guys a little hint. It was a cure for cancer.
It was a cure for cancer.
My mind is fucking blown.
And look, if you Venmo me, let's say $2 million, you know?
You're just working in the lab.
And I don't want that $2 million for myself. Like, no. Miles and I put a lot of money into our lab, you know?
Yeah,
we're just trying to...
We just got to get even here.
We got to be whole, you know? Can we be whole?
Yeah. I got to get back to zero or this deal isn't good for me.
Yeah. So the John Birch Society's entrance to the Laetrile movement does a couple of things. First off, it makes medical freedom a core conservative voting issue. Mm-hmm. And it connects that issue and the people advocating it to the Republican political establishment, who are going to be hugely helpful in pushing for exceptions over things like supplements in the years to come. This is where you get all these laws about like, oh no, you can't sell this as a cure, but you can say maybe it helps with this disease. If you're not saying it's a cure and it's a supplement, then we can't regulate it, right? All of Joe Rogan's business, you know, Alex Jones. This is the groundwork for why all of that is the case, right? Because it becomes a thing where like, well, if you're in an extremely conservative area and you really want to like throw some bones to the far right, just loosen the laws around what kind of shit they can put in their body and call it a cure. Fuck it, you know?
Yeah.
Now, the other thing the John Birch Society does here is they bring in expertise in what far-right conspiracists are best at, which is making people homicidally angry. While the Krebs strategy had been to convince patients and doctors this stuff works and kind of brute force exceptions for human experiments to do a runaround on the drug approval process while seeming to follow it, in this new Bircher era, the focus was much more on making people angry. Just blame the federal government for poisoning them and hiding real medicine, and then you don't have to do anything else, right? The movement around Laetrile evolved from a few patients and their families to a crusade of activists fighting medical 1984, right? Like, we're literally, this is Big Brother that we're fighting by taking cyanide pills. Now, increasingly, these people started finding other people who'd been diagnosed with various cancers and proactively being like, wait, you're about to go in for chemo? No. Take Laetrile. Take Laetrile.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. You know, this is like chemo. No, it's a vitamin. Well, it's a dude, just take it.
Yeah, it's a chemo vitamin supplement, you know?
Yeah.
Money flows to guys like Bradford, who, again, is increasingly becoming like a reverse coyote for families trying to smuggle themselves into Mexico or smuggle Laetrile out. In 1977, he was finally tried alongside Dr. Richardson and convicted of conspiracy. Now, something else happened in 1977. On June 8th of that year, an 11-year-old girl named Elizabeth Hankin of Attica, New York, got into her father's medicine cabinet. Now, her dad had been diagnosed with cancer, and he'd been convinced to take Laetrile. I don't know if he was also taking real medicine or if this was the only thing he was doing, but he's got Laetrile in the house. And Elizabeth, being an 11-month-old, eats 5 tablets, which is about 2.5 grams of his medication. And most people who take Laetrile orally just pass it. Some people's bodies, for whatever reason, have more of that enzyme that turns it into cyanide. And I don't know why, but Elizabeth is one of them. She goes into a coma and she dies 3 days later due to cyanide poisoning caused by the ingestion of amygdalin, per her coroner's report. Her father dies the next year because this is not a treatment for anything. Wow. Not the first kid to die from this stuff, not the last, but one of the most well-documented ones, right? And part of it, I said that like maybe she just had more of this enzyme. And also maybe the Laetrile, different people are making Laetrile and it's not at all consistent. Like when the FDA is trying to test this, they keep finding different formulations. So maybe it was just Laetrile that was inherently more dangerous, right? We don't really know. Earlier that same year, a 17-year-old girl in Los Angeles drank 3 ampules of Laetrile, about 10.5 grams, and within 10 minutes entered a coma due to cyanide poisoning. She died a day later. Now, again, these happen a month away from each other. These and stories like them start percolating out to the medical press. The regular press, however, is still often more interested in reading testimonies of people who'd been miraculously cured. I found a Time article that was written around this period that was just titled, "Debate over Laetrile." And here's how, again, great journalism. Here's how this opens. In a motel room in Imperial Beach, California, the thin man from Arizona puffed nervously on a cigarette as he told his story. Suffering from cancer of the lung, he was told last fall that he had only months to live. 2 weeks ago, he came to Imperial Beach, and since then he has regularly driven across the border to Tijuana, Mexico, and visited a clinic where he receives a shot of Laetrile, a controversial drug that has been outlawed in the U.S. since 1963. Already, he claims to be better. Says he, "I feel now like I'm not going to die."
Oh, God.
I love that. He's still smoking. He's got lung cancer. He's smoking like, no, I feel good now. I'm definitely living.
I love the Laetrile. Just that trill, man.
We all love that trill, baby. We could have made a Deep Space Nine reference there, but I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not giving you people that. You don't deserve it. So this audience summarized some of the dangers and a small part of the case against Laetrile, but it basically came away arguing, hey, why doesn't the government just do human studies and put these claims to rest, you know? Why don't they just end the debate, right? And like, again, it's just like a journalist sticking his mouth where he shouldn't. Like, or you should, but you should talk to a scientist, because a doctor would have told you, well, we can't test this on people ethically because it's cyanide, because it kills them.
So what are you saying?
Like, we can't just do a test of the cyanide pill.
Oh, all right.
Let me break this down very simply for you, journalist man.
Okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
You can't just poison people to death to see if that kills them anymore.
How do we know?
Yeah, maybe it works. Maybe
you
it
never
works.
know. That's the thing. That's what you guys are just hating.
You might think that a total lack of evidence that your cancer cure helps people and a preponderance of evidence that it kills children in particular would have convinced a man like Ernst Krebs Jr. to back off. But he had, by the late 70s, adapted to the new tactic of crying oppression and just pretending that the people who were dying weren't dying. He portrayed himself as a victim set upon by a sinister Big Brother-style regime. And I'm going to read you a quote. This is like him delivering a speech. He would give variations of this often when he would give his public appearances. After presenting a rather effective lecture on cancer, the windshield was shot out of my car on the road back to San Francisco. The next night, the glass window in the tailgate was shot out, 300 miles removed from the first shooting. The police said, maybe someone is trying to tell you something. The late Arthur Harris, MD, was threatened by 2 men with assassination if he continued to use Laetrile. Since that time, we have decentralized the work so that if any 2 of us are shot out of the saddle, it will only have a slight negative effect on the program.
Oh my God.
We're arguing that, we're doing what they do with, the fucking Pepsi, or the KFC ingredient. You always have to have, or the president and the vice president.
We need a lone survivor protocol.
Yeah, for this Laetrile bullshit.
Fucking Jesus Christ.
Now, the bleakest thing about this story is how well his tactics worked. The same year those kids died, 1977, a federal district court judge in, of course, Oklahoma, ruled that Laetrile was exempt from the Food and Drug Act because of a grandfather clause which stated that terminal cancer patients had a right to privacy for their personal supplies of an experimental drug. This right was affirmed by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit, who ruled that the Food and Drug Act didn't apply to terminal patients, period. And it's there is a degree to which, if this had stayed the law, maybe at least medical marijuana would have been less of a fight or something, but this does not continue along these lines, and probably unbalanced good given what's happening right now, what's happening with Laetrile. But the chain of court victories is halted and reversed ultimately by the U.S. Supreme Court, who are like, nah, bro, dying of cancer doesn't mean you don't deserve consumer protection, right? And that's what the concern over Laetrile is. It doesn't work and it kills people, and you don't have a right to poison people just because their cancer's serious. By 1980, it was established that the FDA ban on Laetrile did not infringe on any constitutional rights. Now that the federal battle was over, in 1980 also, Krebs Jr. briefly goes to actual prison for a little while, he gets a brief sentence from his 73 conviction, so he does a little bit of time. Now that the federal battle is over, Laetrile advocates pivoted and embraced a strategy that would be modified not long after by the medical marijuana movement. I didn't bring that up for nothing. Per that article in the Cancer Journal for Clinicians, supporters developed an end-run approach by promoting legalizing statutes within the states, utilizing the lobbying machinery of the right-wing political apparatus, and frequently being opposed only by a poorly organized and ill-informed medical establishment. This movement scored a number of quick and impressive victories. State legislators appeared singularly unimpressed by testimonies about scientific data and responsible drug testing procedures, and decisively moved by the highly emotional testimonials and packed galleries of the Laetrile faithful. After Alaska's lead in the 1976-77 session, 13 additional states voted to legalize Laetrile in 1977 and 78, and 7 more followed a year later. The practical impact of these acts was minor because the drug was already widely available. The emotional impact, however, was considerable. Statewide legislation of Laetrile, regardless of restrictions about the use or manufacture, implied that the drug did have some value and clearly tended to establish a precedent circumventing the standards of the Food and Drug Act as they painstakingly evolved over 75 years.
Jesus.
So, basically, you have this Food and Drug Act. It gets stronger and stronger for a while. It really makes some massive changes, saves a ton of lives. And then the right wing, when they lose in court against it at the federal level, figures out, well, let's just cut the ground out from underneath it. If we can convince all these state legislators who are only concerned about getting re-election, well, we were able to fill the gallery with all of these sick people and their families. And all the other side has is some doctors saying this is bad. Then you'll legalize it locally. And eventually, people at higher levels, legislators, will realize, oh shit, opposing this is dangerous. And that's how we do an end run around the actual doctors and the responsible judges, right? Fuck them. We have a better way,
Yeah, we just show up in numbers, and it's like the letter writing, you know what I mean? It's they'll just see a mass of people, and that's what we need.
And the John Birch Society have been doing stuff like this for a while, but it's the same shit you see with a lot of book banning stuff, right, today.
NRA,
this is a lot of this being worked out, right, specifically in the medical sphere. And this is what's brought us to our present position of doom, probably more than any other single chain of events. The good news I have is that local cases did not always go the way of the Laetrile advocates, but this was cut by the reality that even when sanity won in court, people kept dying, and one of those people was a 5-year-old named Chad Green. Per an article in Boston Local, Chad developed acute cystic leukemia at age 2 and began chemotherapy treatment at the University of Nebraska Medical Center in Omaha, where the family originally lived. Chad's condition was improving, and his leukemia was in remission. But when doctors recommended radiation, the Greens decided to move to Massachusetts, where Chad was placed in the care of Dr. John Truman, a pediatric cancer specialist at Massachusetts General Hospital. So far, so good. You know, they move, but to a real hospital. But by this point, by the time they get to Massachusetts, the Greens have been reached by the Laetrile advocates, who were telling them, like, isn't that chemo hard on your kid? He didn't like it, right? You want to spare him some suffering. God. This is also a cure for cancer, but there's no side effects, right? So they start giving their kid Laetrile, and Dr. Truman is like, okay, guys, you ready to continue chemo? And they're like, no, we're actually not doing that. We got our own thing going on.
Oh, yeah, what are you doing?
What? So he goes to the courts, this doctor. And he basically is like, I think the parents need to be stopped. And the state of Massachusetts agrees. They order Chad to be made a ward of the court, and they send an order to his parents that you have to take him to the hospital to start chemo now. Now, the Greens are like, okay, well, can we do that and keep giving him Laetrile? But part of what had tipped off this doctor is that he had early symptoms of cyanide poisoning. And so the doctor's like, no, they're just giving him cyanide. Don't let them keep doing that. And so the judge is like, no, you can't continue to poison this child. So the Greens are like, the fuck we can't. And they flee to Mexico, where they start staying at Dr. Ernesto Contreras' clinic. Now, legal threats continue to flow from across the border, but per time, quote, they were getting financial support from the National Health Federation. That's that group founded by Bradford, this group, which also, by the way, was starting to oppose the fluoridation of water, and from private citizens who contend that the state has no business telling parents how to care for their children. With these contributions, the Greens hope to get by while they are in Mexico. There is such a loving atmosphere here at the clinic, says Gerald Green. The doctor, after giving us the test results, tells us, we'll be praying with you. You just don't find that in the States. And that says so much about the psychology here of like, I don't care as much if my kid lives as well as whether or not the doctor prayed with us, you know? Yeah. That makes me feel better about it than some doctor who was saving his life actively.
Yeah.
He didn't pray with us.
He was just too clinical.
Yeah, too clinical. In a clinic. Can you believe it?
Unbelievable.
Several months after this, Chad dies, possibly from leukemia, which was untreated now, but also some of the evidence suggests that he dies of cyanide poisoning, which, given the cyanide, not a huge stretch. For his part, when Dr. Contreras is like, hey, so this kid died, is this maybe evidence that you fucked up? Contreras is like, no. Chad's death is proof that Laetrile works. It didn't save him, but he died a really pleasant, you guys didn't see it, but he died like a really good death. Like it was super chill, thanks to Laetrile. You know, he would have died a much worse death if it weren't for Laetrile. And
dude, search YouTube right now, most chill death compilations.
Yeah, I got like a bunch of them over here. I take a video every time. No, and even his family didn't agree with this because, like, all they would tell the news is that at the end he was so sad to be away from his like grandparents and his friends and his home. Like he was just lonely in a foreign. Not only did he die unnecessarily, but he died unnecessarily lonely in a strange foreign country.
Oh my God,
it's fucking bleak. And there's a lot of other horror stories of Laetrile, Miles. Many of them hinge around this growing idea, embraced by right-wing activists, that parents should be the only ones with the power to decide what happens to their kids, right? This is the root of all of the whole fascist movement in this country, honestly, as far as I'm concerned, is the core, like at least cornerstone of it is the idea that, like, as a parent, you own your child and anything you say is right.
Right.
In Chad's case, the courts ruled consistently that parental rights did not extend to denying a child life-saving treatment, but the other courts made different decisions. Per Quackwatch, Joseph Hoffbauer was a 9-year-old with Hodgkin's disease. Unlike Chad Green's parents, Joseph's parents never allowed him to receive appropriate treatment, but insisted that he receive Laetrile and metabolic therapy. When New York state authorities attempted to place him in protective custody, his parents filed suit and convinced family court judge Lauren Brown to let the parents make the treatment decision. Brown stated, "This court also finds that metabolic therapy has a place in our society, and hopefully its proponents are on the first rung of a ladder that will rid us of all forms of cancer." It's just another quack treatment. The parents rejected standard treatment, and Joseph died of his disease 2 years later. Acute lymphocytic leukemia and Hodgkin's disease both have 95% 5-year survival rates with appropriate chemotherapy. So these are not kids who are going to die anyway. These are kids who had very good odds until Laetrile came into the picture. Now, perhaps the most famous Laetrile death which comes in 1980, is Steve McQueen, one of the great movie stars of his day. He'd been diagnosed with mesothelioma in 1979, and like all these other people, he traveled to Mexico to take Laetrile. Now, his doctor was not Contreras. It was William Kelly, who was a dentist who'd had his license revoked in Texas.
Perfect transition.
Banned
Perfect
from
transition.
being a dentist in Texas. Guess I'll cure cancer in Mexico.
Yeah, I don't do mouth stuff anymore, but I moved to Mexico now, and I'm an oncologist.
Yeah, I'm the best doctor Steve McQueen can apparently afford. Like most Laetrile patients, McQueen praised the efficacy of his treatment as a lifesaver and then died several months later in 1980. And eventually, Laetrile fever faded, in part because its most zealous advocates died off. Despite the fact that more than 70,000 Americans had tried it, only 93 case studies were ever submitted to the government to be evaluated. 26 of these weren't documented well enough to be useful. The remaining cases were ultimately sent to an expert panel after being blinded and compared to 68 random chemotherapy patients. And the panel showed that there were 2 cases of Laetrile-treated cases where people went into full remission, and 4 where people went into partial remission. And in the remaining 62 cases, nothing at all happened. And also, even the fact that there's there's 6 people who seem to see some benefit, but there was actually no attempt to verify that any of these patients existed. So this is just like a list that someone gave them saying these were people. So they couldn't even, these 6 people who apparently got better, we couldn't verify as real people, right? The reviewers concluded that they could make, quote, no definite conclusions supporting the anti-cancer activity of Laetrile.
Cool.
Yeah. And there's more studies after this. There's another one where 220 physicians submit data on 1,000 patients, and there's no evidence that any of them benefited from taking Laetrile. There's, a couple of different studies, all of which show the same thing, right? Which is that no one has been cured or stabilized by Laetrile. The median survival rate is less than 5 months after the start of therapy. For the people who lived longer than that, their tumors had gotten larger. Basically, it did the same thing at best as no treatment, and a number of patients experienced side effects of cyanide toxicity. So yeah, eventually there's a bunch of these stories and demand falls. There's a lot of lawsuits against the companies making it, against Bradford. Most of these are thrown out of court, but it does damage to the brand. And today, Laetrile is still, you can find Mexican cancer clinics are still selling Laetrile as vitamin B17. It's not completely gone, but it's it's not top dog in the fake cancer cures anymore. And that's the story, Miles.
Oh, well.
My brother said a patient asked him about B17 recently.
Oh, good. Great.
My brother, an oncologist.
Just doing your own research is how you get there, apparently.
He said he gets asked about ivermectin every day as a cure for cancer. So,
well, that's their right.
Sounds very frustrating.
It's freedom of choice, man. Freedom of choice, freedom of poisons.
Freedom of poisons.
Freedom to be God to your children. And that's, great. Well, I feel better. I was just saying how much of a bummer I was going through some shit, man. But now with
everything's fixed.
I feel happy.
Bippity boppity bastards.
Bippity boppity bastards. Well, hey, you know what, Miles? Why don't you tell people something that'll cure their cancer?
Well, I don't have a cure for cancer, but I do have a pill. It's a 2-for-1. It cures male pattern baldness and impotence. Wow. It's called Bone Hair. And it's just once a day you take it, and I mean, some people it works. I think it works. Yeah. I think it works. The coroner's office is doing some lab work, and they're going to get back to me on a couple people who I think they went OD with it, or OD'd on it. I don't know. Anyway, forget that. If you like podcasts, you can also listen to me on the Daily Zeitgeist or 420 Day Fiance. Find me there.
Yeah, find Miles there. And find my exciting new cancer treatment, which is just do nothing and send me tens of thousands of dollars, And
Great.
Through the power of my own positive thinking, I'll fix your shit.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah, I got it, baby.
Behind the Bastards is a production of Cool Zone Media. For more from Cool Zone Media, visit our website, coolzonemedia.com, or check us out on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Behind the Bastards is now available on YouTube. New episodes every Wednesday and Friday. Subscribe to our channel, youtube.com/@BehindTheBastards.
A BetterHelp ad. We get it. February is full of flowers, candy, and, of course, lots of talk about relationships. It can feel like everyone else has it all together in their love lives. But the truth is, we're all still figuring it out. Whether you're working on your marriage, navigating the dating apps, or prioritizing staying single, no matter where you are, you're right on time. Therapy can help you find your way and take some of the pressure off yourself so you can determine what you want, what feels heavy, and how you can feel lighter. Just a little bit of outside perspective from a professional can lead to new understanding and a lot of progress. So the next time you're feeling iffy about your love life, try therapy with BetterHelp and see where it takes you. And remember, you're right on time. Visit BetterHelp.com for 10% off. That's BetterHelp.com.
This is Bethany Frankel from Just Be with Bethany Frankel. Most dog food is marketing, not nutrition. That is why Biggie and Smalls eat just food for dogs, real 100% human-grade food with ingredients I actually recognize. And yes, I do see the difference. Better digestion, healthier skin, more energy, dogs that feel better, my babies. If you've been on the fence about switching, stop overthinking it. What's more important than your furry babies and their health? Go to justfoodfordogs.com right now and get 50% off your first box. No code needed. Just try it.
Tired of spills and stains on your sofa? Wash away your worries with Anabay. Anabay is the only designer sofa that's machine washable inside and out, starting at just $699. Plus, Anabay sofas are pet-friendly, stain-resistant, and feature changeable slipcovers and modular pieces. Get up to 60% off site-wide with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Visit washablesofas.com to get yours now. That's washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change, and certain restrictions may apply.
Flag football is exploding, and iFlag is leading the way. As the Guinness World Record holder, iFlag hosts premier flag football tournaments nationwide for boys, girls, high school girls, and adults. From first-time players to elite competitors, iFlag delivers top-level competition, unforgettable experiences, and a community built around the game. Ready to be part of it? Join the movement. Find your tournament and learn more at iflag.org. That's iflag.org.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed Human.